Today, we're looking at one of the most popular leather jackets on the market, AllSaints. Now, they clearly pay a pretty penny for their marketing, but how does the jacket feel in your hands? And the all-important question, how does it make you feel? AllSaints was started in London in 1994, and from its very early stages had a fairly clear sense of who it wanted to be and where it wanted to go. Through dressing and collaborating with up-and-coming musicians, the brand cultivated a certain posh rocker kind of vibe that more or less remains to this day. While the ram's skull logo is more often recognized on t-shirts and sweaters and other ready-to-wear pieces, a core product category for the brand is their leather, which ranges from fairly classic biker and rocker styles to more avant-garde street looks. But far and away, one of their most classic and most popular styles is the Cora leather jacket. A clean, simple, slightly structured cafe racer. Now, I've always thought of AllSaints as a sort of fashion sweet spot for folks who have, generally classic taste, but want to spice it up a little bit, right? Maybe you're a bit bored of J. Crew and don't really want to go as hard as John Varvatos in style or price, and you're nowhere near being able to afford Yves Saint Laurent. Well, AllSaints could be a cool brand for you to check out. The Cora jacket is typically offered in a few different hides and colorways depending on the season, with some being made from sheep or lambskin and others being made from cowhides. This jacket is made from cowhide, which is typically a bit more expensive than the lamb and sheepskin you tend to see in brands at this price point. That's a good thing. Cowhide is more durable than the more widespread lambskin. AllSaints doesn't specifically state calfskin, but you'd be forgiven for thinking that was being used here in this case because the classic black leather is just buttery soft. While it certainly is a chrome tanned hide, a fairly regular amount of wear over the past month or so has yet to reveal any of the telltale signs of poor quality. There's no fibrous split grain along the edges, none of that sickly wet blue color emerging from the inky surface. Now, that might change with continued use, only time will tell, but so far I'm not seeing any of those immediate red flags, which is great. While the jacket is made in India, a place that doesn't necessarily have the best reputation for tanneries, AllSaints does say that they work closely with the leather working group in order to source leather from sustainable and responsible tanneries, which is good to look for when a jacket's under $1,000 and you want to know your leather is not giving skin lesions to developing world tannery workers. Overall, the texture of the leather is for the most part very consistent throughout. This is likely owed to the leather being, thinner and corrected, but nevertheless, they did a pretty great job, with the exception of literally like one little panel over here where it's a little bit more wrinkly than the rest. I really didn't see any kind of major inconsistencies that would stand out if you were just wearing the jacket around. The stitching is nice and clean and even throughout with no signs of loose threads or pulled stitches that I've yet found anyway. The zippers are pretty standard fare. Honestly, they're not too, bulky or heavy, but they're also not too cheap. And as far as the interior of the jacket is concerned, it's lined with a soft recycled polyester. Now, normally that would be a major point of contention for me personally, as at this price point, I would much rather see a more premium material like cotton or, hey, even, silk, something along those lines. But in this case, whatever method by which they reprocess the polyester has left it feeling really nice and kind of more akin to a nice, well-worn cotton t-shirt material. It's not silky per se, but it's still soft and comfortable against the skin should you elect to wear short sleeves. Plus, the fact that it's recycled is a really nice little sustainability boost, like the fact that they work with the leather working group. The only major issue I might have with the construction, as anyone who has watched one of my other recent, rather colorful jacket reviews might tell you. But the only thing that this jacket is capable of making you feel is disappointment. Is the use of the smaller sections of leather panels used to create the jacket. The general rule of leather goods is the fewer single pieces of leather that are used, the better. The more pieces of the leather that are used, the cheaper the jacket typically is to make, the cheaper it looks, and the easier it is to tear and fail. That's why you see a lot of jackets with that awful big seam across, like running straight across the chest, right? Totally breaking up the profile of the jacket, but also, a clear sign of corner cutting. Now, this jacket, thankfully, doesn't have the chest seam. Thank goodness. It's awesome. It's not a terrible offender when it comes to this, frankly. There are some extra benefits to some of the pieces of leather, right? Like, for example, some of the panels on the sides here, you know, give a little bit more, you know, kind of movement and structure to the jacket. And like, for example, this kind of curved flap on the back is really great and kind of, you know, contours to you, especially when you sit down. Frankly, a lesser jacket would, even this piece would be cut up into a couple different pieces. My biggest gripe, honestly, is along the sleeves where you see smaller patches of leather and most egregiously where the faux shoulder pads are applied. Now, some guys like an extra piece of leather on the shoulder to add a little bit of bulk, which is perfectly fine, but this shoulder piece here is not that. A quick run of the finger underneath reveals that this is in fact a patch that's covering a big hole and gap where the leather was, you know, taken out of the larger piece on the sleeve here. While that might not be a major issue for some, and frankly, it's fine if it isn't, it is still a potential failure point for the jacket and, you know, something that you might encounter years down the road. And frankly, for what this jacket costs, one should expect many, many years of normal, reasonable wear. I personally would have much preferred that they would have just foregone the shoulder pads entirely and opted for a little bit more of a smooth, you know, uninterrupted sleeve of hide. But, you know, that's kind of one of those spots where money is saved. Moving on to fit and sizing. Fortunately, we don't have to spend too much time here as, frankly, it's pretty straightforward. Your normal jacket size will likely be the move. Overall, it's a fairly slim cut, so if you do have a little extra padding in the middle, you might not love the overall profile of the Cora jacket, as it is a pretty minimal and very vertical kind of cut. If that is the case for you, I would probably look at one of their more traditional biker styles like the Milo or the Conroy or the Dren, for example. Now, I personally wear a 36 regular and the jacket fits perfectly with just a little bit of touch of snugness and structure to it. As this is a much more polished look for the jacket, it's not something that I plan on really layering much underneath, but you know, your mileage may vary. At $649, the Cora leather jacket is not cheap. We often rub shoulders with guys who spend four figures on Japanese horsehide jackets, but the average person, $649 is gonna be pricey. And most people are gonna consider this to be an investment piece. So, is it worth the price? Well, it is, and it isn't. Let me explain. It kind of depends on what you want the jacket to be, right? What are your expectations and what can you afford? The standard bearer in the leather jacket world is Shot NYC, and though their Cafe Racer is $300 more expensive than this. So with that extra money, you could get a jacket made in New Jersey with fewer pieces of leather, a little bit thicker leather, and most notably, more consistent construction in the sleeves. So should you just save up an extra $300 and spring for a Shot? Maybe. But at that point, should you just save up another $300 and get something from Mr. Freedom or Y2? I mean, hell, if you're gonna spend $1,200, you might as well go all out and spend $2,000 on something from the real McCoys, right? I'm guessing you're kind of getting my point here. There will always be something more expensive that you could potentially opt for, should you have the means, or should you stretch yourself a little bit beyond your means, right? My personal philosophy is that you should set your priorities for what you want a product to be that you're about to buy. What's your use case, right? Once you've determined that, buy the best that you can afford, and then every time you wear it, you can enjoy it. This is not a jacket that is gonna last you 10 years of hard wear. If that's what you want, then you should probably get the Shot or something along those lines. Moving on to some pros and cons. In the pro category, this is a clean, classic style. It's really elegant and nice looking, and it's just a sharp jacket. I mean, it's timeless. You know, you're gonna be able to wear this for several years, as long as it lasts, and you're never gonna feel necessarily like the jacket's gone out of style. The lining is comfortable and feels nice, even when you're wearing a t-shirt. The involvement of the leather working group is great. You know, it's responsible and sustainably sourced leather, which you'll love to see. And finally, there's no external branding or like weird stitching or like weird design accents other than those shoulder pads or any kind of unnecessary faff, which frankly, I always love. Now, moving on to the cons. First and foremost, the price, right? At $649, it's a little bit steep. you know? That's a lot of money for a jacket, and there's definitely other jackets out there that will give you kind of a similar vibe and a similar look and maybe a little bit of a similar feel for less money. And finally, the double zipper is just straight up annoying, frankly. It's not necessary considering this is a fashion jacket. Like, you're not sitting on a motorcycle and you need that extra flair and fit, you know, so there's no reason I can ever see why I need to zip the jacket up, so I just hate it. It gets stuck. They're annoying. Double zippers like this on jackets suck, and people should stop using them. Right, so at a certain point, especially with leather jackets, you really have to take into consideration your use case and give yourself a clear, honest reason for why you're buying the jacket. Is the AllSaints Cora a leather jacket that will protect you if you're riding a motorcycle and you take a spill? No. Is it the kind of jacket that will last more than a decade or more? Also, probably not. If those are the sort of things that you're wanting your leather jacket to do, there are jackets out there for you that will be willing and eager to take your abuse in stride and look all the better for it. That's not what this jacket is, and it's not what it's trying to be. If, however, you are wanting a jacket that is classic and elegant and a quick way to dress up an otherwise casual look and feel really nice while you do it, well, then this could very well be a viable option for you. And if the $649 price tag is within or just at the top of your price range, well, you could probably do worse. Do I wish it was $100 or maybe even $200 cheaper? Sure, yeah. Is the price a deal breaker for me personally, considering the way it's constructed, but also considering, and perhaps more importantly, the way that I feel when I wear it? I don't think it is. The question comes down to this. If you love the way something looks, and the way something feels, and most importantly, the way something makes you feel, is it worth maybe slightly overpaying for? Or to put it a different way, if it makes you happy, then are you really overpaying for it at all? That does it for my review of the AllSaints Cora Cafe Racer jacket. What do you guys think? Are you paying for a name here, or is there some value to be had with AllSaints stuff? I like it. Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe for more menswear and leather reviews, boots, jackets, bags, all that good stuff. See you later.